Our first story is about an ordinary girl named Agnes, born on August 26, 1910 in Macedonia. Her name in Albanian means pure, which would prove to be the fitting name for a girl who seemed early on to embody a heart of pure love for others. As a girl, Agnes was fascinated by stories she read of missionaries and their service in other parts of the world. These stories inspired her to see every unmet need as an opportunity to share God's love in action. At the early age of 12, Agnes decided to become a missionary herself. Little did she know that she would one day become one of the most famous missionaries of all time, Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa left Macedonia in 1928 at age 18. She traveled to Ireland and learned English with the intent of becoming a missionary in India. But throughout her life, she would become fluent not only in Armenian and English, but in Bengali, Serbian, and Hindi. After 1 year of training in Ireland, Teresa arrived in India to begin her missionary training in Darjeeling. There she learned Bengali and taught at a school near her convent. She took her first religious vows in May of 1931 and chose a new name, as was the custom. It would be a name that the entire world would one day recognize: Teresa, named after Teresa de Lisieux, the patron saint of missionaries. Sister Teresa then became a teacher at the Loreto Convent School in Entley, eastern Calcutta, where on May 24, 1937, at age 27, Teresa took her final profession of vows to a life of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Upon making her final vows, she took on the title Mother and thus became known as Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa served there for nearly 20 years and was appointed as its head mistress in 1944. Although she loved teaching at the school, she became increasingly disturbed by the terrible poverty in Calcutta. This was made even worse by the famine of 1943 and the Muslim-Hindu violence of 1946. Then, on September 10, 1946, Teresa took a train to Darjeeling for her annual retreat. While on the train from Calcutta to the Loreto Convent, Teresa experienced what she would later describe as the call within the call. It was a moment that would change her life. The inner call she heard was to leave the convent and to help the poor while living among them. Though nuns were known for their humanitarian work, most of them lived outside of the poverty and danger within their own convent. Mother Teresa felt that the voice she heard to leave the convent and live among the poor was a specific call from God, and that to fail would be to break the faith. She decided to respond with action.
Armed with 2 blue-bordered saris and her Bible, she left the school and began mission work with the poor in 1948. Teresa adopted Indian citizenship and received basic medical training at Holy Family Hospital before heading into the slums and living among the poor. She wrote in her diary that her first year on the field was filled with difficulty and hardship. With no income, she, like those who lived on the street, often had to beg for food and supplies. During this time, she experienced doubt, loneliness, and the temptation of returning to the comfort of convent life. She wrote,
"Our Lord wants me to be a free nun, covered with the poverty of the cross. Today I learned a good lesson. The poverty of the poor must be so hard for them. While looking for a home, I walked and walked till my arms and legs ached. I thought how much they must ache in body and soul, looking for a home, food and health. Then the comfort of Loreto came to tempt me. You have only to say the word and all that will be yours again," the tempter kept on saying. "A free choice, my God, and out of love for you, I desire to remain and do whatever be your holy will in my regard. I did not let a single tear come."
During this time, with greater empathy for hardships of the poor and homeless, she worked to found a school in Mottajil, Calcutta for underprivileged children. This would serve as a base to begin reaching out to the poor and hungry within the community.
Though Mother Teresa started alone, it wouldn't be long before others heard and answered the call as well. She was soon joined in her efforts by a small group of young women who shared her heart to help the poorest among the poor. Together, they would become known as the Missionaries of Charity. Their efforts quickly caught the attention of many Indian officials, including the Prime Minister. In 1952, Teresa opened her first hospice with help from Calcutta officials. Converting a Hindu temple into the home of the Pure Heart, those brought into the home received medical attention and the opportunity to die with dignity in accordance with their faith. A beautiful death, as Teresa once said, is for people who lived like animals to die like angels, loved and wanted.
The Missionaries of Charity also established leprosy outreach clinics throughout the region, providing dressing, medication, and food to those who were seen as outcasts, along with opening a hospice for the elderly and dying called City of Peace. Due to the overwhelming amount of homeless children they came across, the sisters also opened the Children's Home of the Immaculate Heart as a haven for orphans and homeless youth.
By the 1960s, as word of their work spread, the Missionaries of Charity had begun to attract more recruits and donations, giving them the ability to open more hospices, orphanages, and leper homes throughout India. They soon expanded abroad, with a house in Venezuela, followed by houses in Italy, Tanzania, and Austria. Then, in the 1970s, the sisters opened houses and foundations in the United States, Asia, Africa, and Europe, their work literally spanning the globe. In recognition of the incredible missions work that Mother Teresa had accomplished, in 1979, she received the Nobel Peace Prize for work undertaken in the struggle to overcome poverty and distress, which also constitutes a threat to peace. But as was her nature, Mother Teresa refused the conventional ceremonial banquet for laureates, asking that the $192,000 it cost to be thrown instead be given to the poor in India. She believed that earthly rewards were important only if they helped her to help the world's needy.
When Teresa received the prize, she was asked, "What can we do to promote world peace?" Her answer, "Go home and love your family." She believed that the greatest hunger in the world was not that of bread or food. The greatest hunger was to be seen, wanted, and loved. She felt that though most people may not be able to feed the world, they could feed those that they came in contact with through love and compassion. They could feed one at a time, and combined, that can make the greatest difference.
Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love.
One of Mother Teresa's greatest acts of love is a story not as familiar to many. At the height of the Lebanon War in 1982, Teresa was called upon to rescue a group of children caught in the middle of the siege of Beirut.
On August 10th, Mother Teresa responded to a call relayed by Agence France Presse from Amal Markarem, a horrified witness to 100 spastic and mentally challenged Muslim children abandoned by the staff of an orphanage located in the western part of Beirut. Though the staff was able to get some of them out, they had nowhere to take the rest, and those who were left there were now without food, care, medication, or hygiene. After numerous futile appeals to government agencies for help, Amal Makarem typed up an appeal to the world. She said of the letter, "It was a desperate SOS, a bottle into the sea. I gave it to Mauna Naim, a journalist who later became my friend. The next day or two, I forget, a media miracle took place. The International Committee of the Red Cross called her and told her that they had received a call from the Vatican, who had heard the SOS, and it was Mother Teresa who would be heading over there to help the evacuation of the children." Mother Teresa arrived hurriedly in Lebanon, in a predominantly Christian part of the country outside of the war zone. When she arrived, she asked to see the ambassador of the United States, Philip Habib, known as one of the most outstanding professional diplomats of his time, who was sent there by President Ronald Reagan to help broker peace between the Palestinians and Israelis. According to witnesses, after listening intently to Mother Teresa, Philip Habib told her, Mother, I am more than happy to have a woman of prayer at my side. I believe in the power of prayer. I believe that prayer is answered. I am a man of faith. But you see, you're asking Our Lady to deal with Prime Minister Begin. And do you not think that the time limit you gave him to order a ceasefire is a little short? You should maybe extend it a little? Mother Teresa assured him that she firmly believed that they would have a ceasefire the following day.
The next day, August 14th, 1982, Mother Teresa had her miracle. The ceasefire negotiated by Philip Habib and obtained through Mother Teresa's faith was in place. Mother Teresa took action. At 72 years old, working with the Red Cross, she traveled throughout the war zone to the abandoned children, where she calmed and transported them out of harm's way into the safety of a convent. They would remain there until other arrangements could be made for their permanent care. Many touted the ceasefire and rescue a miracle and act of heroism. But for Mother Teresa, it was simply an act of love.
Love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service.
This wouldn't be the last time that Mother Teresa would put herself in harm's way to be love in action for those in need. She traveled to assist the hungry in Ethiopia, radiation victims at Chernobyl, and earthquake victims in Armenia.
By 1997, the 13-member Calcutta congregation had grown to more than 4,000 sisters who managed orphanages, AIDS hospices, and charity centers worldwide, caring for refugees, the aged, disabled, blind, alcoholics, the homeless and poor, and victims of natural disasters. Within 10 more years, the Missionaries of Charity numbered about 450 brothers and 5,000 sisters worldwide, operating 600 missions, schools, and shelters in 120 countries.
Mother Teresa's impact became further reaching than she could have ever imagined. She left out with her 2 saris with a simple mission to live among and love the poor. But fame was never her ambition. Love was her highest goal. And her love became a bright beacon of light to the world, leading the way for others to follow.
In Rome in 1983, while she was visiting Pope John Paul II, Teresa had a heart attack. Following a second one in 1989, she received an artificial pacemaker. Although Teresa offered to resign as head of the Missionaries of Charity at that time, in a secret ballot, the sisters of the congregation voted for her to stay, and she agreed to continue. But when her health continued to decline, on March 13, 1997, Teresa resigned as head of the Missionaries of Charity.
Mother Teresa once said, "By blood, I am Albanian. By citizenship, I am Indian. By faith, I am a Catholic nun. As to my calling, I belong to the world. And as to my heart, I belong entirely to the heart of Jesus." 6 months after her resignation, that heart, which belonged entirely to Jesus, returned to him. As the woman who had shown the whole world love in action passed away this month in Christian history on September 5th, 1997. Because of Mother Teresa, today, the Society of Missionaries has continued to spread all around the world.